Happy Saturday! Today's gonna be a good day. I'm really excited. I am kind of a little manic because I only have today and tomorrow to finish this project. But there is something kind of interesting about, since this is the priority, I've pushed everything else, all of my other responsibilities, all of the other things in life that I usually am well, I have to finish that first before I get to work in my studio. It's no, that's out the window. I'm just working in my studio. So it's kind of nice because this doesn't really happen to me very often. I don't ever let it happen, but I do feel a little crazy because I'm not going to have any clean clothes this week coming up, which is fine. It's fine. Priorities, people. Anyways, so I know that I said I was going to come in last night, Friday night, after work and clean in here, but I didn't. I just ate dinner and went to bed at 8:30 p.m. because the way that I justified it was, it'll look weird if all of a sudden I have a clean bench. This is, continuity, people. Whatever. Anyways, so I have decided that I'm going to start off with the most difficult part that I have left to do. I know where I left off was working on these little end cap pieces, and I will come back to that. It's just, that's something that I can do as I get more tired. It's going to be fine. But what I have to do next is I have to get these pieces ready to get riveted together. And so what that means is I got to drill holes all along the spine of this. And then, so this is for one clamp, both pieces, both sides. And let me see, I have some that have broken apart so I can show you. All right, where we're at is these pieces get riveted onto this long piece of my clamp, one on one side and one on the other side. And this is not, it's not no space, but it's not a lot of space. So I'm not going to be able to use the same thickness of material that I had been using in my last rivets. Maybe I could. It just makes me a little nervous. And so I think that this was 14 gauge. And so I might try and use 16 gauge. 18 gauge would be, it would be fine. It just would be cutting it more stressfully close. So I'm afraid that if I do one side and then drill all the way through, and then this might not make sense to you, but if I glue all these three together and try to drill through them, I am afraid that as I'm drilling through, since this is pretty thick amount of metal for that small of a drill bit to go through. And so I'm worried that as the drill bit is drilling through, it's going to drill through and it's going to wander. And so then the other side won't look as nice because it won't line up as well. And that's a cosmetic thing, but it's I think I'm going to glue these two back together, and then I'm just going to drill all the holes down this spine that I'm going to make. Let's see, probably 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. That'll look fine. And it'll be enough to hold it together all the way down the length. And so I'll drill through both of these, and then I'll take it apart, put one on, line up one hole, center punch it, drill that, and then probably rivet them both onto that and then swing them out of the way. Or I'll rivet them both together, the whole thing all together, and then swing it, mark on actually, maybe I'll mark on both sides and drill on both sides, and then meet myself halfway through this. Because if the hole in this piece ends up being a little bit bigger because I'm trying to connect the holes it's like, that's fine because the top and the bottom, those holes will be tight. And those are the ones that are going to be kind of like, what's it called? Kind of made into a funnel. And so it'll catch both sides of the rivet metal will catch that. And it'll be, I don't know why I'm like over explaining this, but it's all like, I do feel like it's all going to be fine. It's just going to be hard. And I just want to do it when I'm the most fresh and I guess the most caffeinated. Yeah, so we're going to start there. And then after that, maybe I will do these things that need to get riveted together. Like all this, you know, needs to get riveted together. I may even be missing one of these parts, but like I'll rivet these together. And also I have to solder the tube. I did cut some tubing one of the times I sneaked in here and didn't record anything. Like this tubing, once these pieces are riveted to these pieces, then I'll be able to solder this tubing into that little cavity in between. That'll get soldered into there, and then that tube gets tapped. And then there's like a bunch of other stuff that I still have to fabricate, but it's like the hardest parts will be done and everything else will just go really easily. I think so. Let's get to work.
All right, starting off with the door open. Great. And also that last view it wasn't low enough. So I'm just explaining pretty much for the final video, everything that I just explained. I mean, you know the drill. I just pick up kind of like, and I'm showing the size wire that I'm going to use. But yeah, that you can't see anything that's on my bench. Sometimes you got to pay more attention to these things. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself, but it's like if you get a bad shot and it's like 2 hours of footage, it's kind of important. So yeah, so I'm using the same size drill bits that those holes were drilled to super glue those two pieces back together with little squeeze clamps. I mean, you guys remember this from, you know, the episode where I made them all the same size exactly. And so those are the two that are super glued together, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put my rivet holes. And you see that long arm. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I think when I'm editing these, I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible. But really, if you can't see what I'm doing, I don't know. But oh my goodness. I should... On top, anyways, I'm center punching where I'm gonna drill the holes on those, making those, you know, sandwiches. And so then I'm figuring out what size drill bit I'm gonna need to drill the holes for the size wire. And I did end up using the thinner wire for these rivets. They are also flush rivets though, so in the final piece they do look, you know, like flush rivets end up looking like they were made out of thicker material than they actually are made out of, because of the way that the end of the rivet pins kind of mushrooms out into the countersunk holes. Oh, so now I've got my little, look at how little that drill bit is. Oh my goodness. Yep, getting the close-up shot with the iPhone. I think at that point I realized, like, oh my gosh, the door's been open this whole time. Look at that chuck key placement too. Isn't that clever? I should put some stickers on the back of this drill press so that during the shot you can see Cast Iron Gypsy. Take a lesson from my mentors on YouTube. So those two pieces you can see are still super glued together, and I'm just drilling all 5. See how, I don't know if you could see, but like the drill bit, it does shift and kind of wander a little bit because it's so thin. Okay, boom, going back to the bench. I think I'm still waiting for the other ones to dry though. Did I drill holes through both pairs? Did you see? Did you notice? I guess so. Because there they both are, both pairs glued together. Look at okay, so I didn't drill through both holes. All right, I'm explaining. I don't know what I'm explaining. Maybe I'm explaining like they have to be in the same orientation, matched up. Like the bread of the sandwich of this metal sandwich, the insides of the bread pieces have to be the same. Or together, the same as when they were drilled, maybe. We'll have to wait to the final video to see what I was explaining. So now I'm laying out the second one. And it's going to be slightly different just because they're handmade. So I'm, drawing this line along the spine with my little dividers. And then the 2 holes on both ends are at a specific distance from the ends. And then whatever see, I'm doing math. Look at that little calculator placement. And I'm filming, so I can't use my phone as a calculator. So then I'm figuring out, I guess I took the distance between the 2 end holes and then divided it by 3. Pretty clever for an artist, right? What do we always say? I'm not good at math, I'm an artist. I mean, I'm okay at math. That's the center. Center punch that. I think that's one of the best things I ever did was put all my hammers on the end, that side left end of my bench. I mean, not all of my hammers are there, but just the ones that I use the most. So, and now we're gonna drill through these pieces of metal bread for the metal sandwich. Oh my gosh. I've been doing so many voiceovers for all of these studio sessions. I think I'm going a little crazy. Okay, so that's the end. This is a pretty good shot with the iPhone. Oh my gosh, that's such a small amount of space. Like, I think that if I did these again, I might leave myself more room. I don't know. Probably not, actually. All right, I'm talking to the main shooter. I must be happy, but it is also like the morning at this moment in the studio session, so I think I'm usually more talkative in the mornings. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, kids. Those safety glasses, so those are like my backup safety glasses, and there's like a little decal by the right eye, and it kind of looks like I have like a face tattoo. I think. Like a little blue. I don't know. All right, so I'm using a slightly bigger size drill bit to get all the burrs. I mean, those are going to be countersunk with a ball burr. I think that's what I was using because it's a little bit more predictable for such small holes to make the countersink than like using a bigger drill bit. So yeah, I'm just taking the burrs off of both sides. Then putting the drill bit back in the index like a good little doobie. Oh, all right. I guess I broke those apart. No, I didn't. What am I saying? Oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm putting them in acetone. Sneaky over there, putting them in acetone. And I left that little, or it's not little, it's actually a huge flathead screwdriver. I left it over there so that anytime I need to open the acetone or the denatured alcohol, I'll just like have a big screwdriver ready to go. Because I don't use flathead screwdrivers all that often. I mean, do you? Not talking to you, Eric, from Hand Tool Rescue. I mean, just kidding. Just kidding. I'm cleaning. Look at me, guys. I mean, I guess that there was like nothing else. It must have just broken me how disgusting my bench top was. I mean, I guess it's not disgusting. It's all tools. How frantic it was. I must have just been like, that's it. We clean it all. That's exactly what I'm doing, you guys. This is insane. Why did I leave this in? I mean, I guess it's kind of like, do you feel better looking at the top of that bench? I feel better. Pin vices, the specific file. I'm like, I'm going to use this file again. I'm not going to put it away. I have a different spot also for my needle files. So they're not like sloshing around with the big boys. They're over to the left. Yeah, see, I just put away some diamond needle files in the left side. Check in. Are you done yet? Are you done? Are you acetoned, de-stuck? I'm rinsing them, so that must be a good sign, I think. I think it wasn't worth it for me to roll the camera over to just like get a shot of me opening up them or opening them apart. I guess I'm not really opening them, taking them apart. Okay, back at the bench. They're in that towel, like 101 Dalmatians. Do you guys remember that scene where like they have the baby and they're like, this one didn't make it, and then the dad rubs it and it comes back to life? I just remember that from when I was a kid. All right, so now I'm de-burring all of the inside holes from the insides. Taking the burr off of the ends, or the edges, because that was like on the inside of those ones that didn't break apart. Sometimes as I'm explaining this, like to you, I'm like, I wonder if I'm even making good commentary or like good comments, or if it makes it even more confusing. Like, what is she even talking about? So I hope that you understand. Oh, so what I'm doing right now is I'm cleaning up that slot, that the working mechanism that adjusts how tight or loose, like what size the jaws of the clamp are going to clamp onto. You know, and that's adjusted by that little knob at the end of the vice grips. I'm cleaning that up right now with needle files. So it's smooth, but it also looks like a very nice oval. Yeah, see, I'm checking to make sure the 2.5 millimeter tubing is going to fit in there. Oh, checking all the... I turned off all the cameras. I must have gone and like made coffee or something. But now I'm back. See, I even had my microphone off. So maybe we went to brunch. And probably not, actually. I was pretty frantic. So I probably just like made something at home, like eggs. Sometimes watching this back though, like I'm so disconnected from that day's experience that I had, because that happened like in November, and I'm recording this in January. Like I'm doing this voiceover right now in mid-January. I don't even know when you're seeing this, but yeah, I'm still cleaning up that. I mean, there was 4 of them, let's be completely honest. So, and I think I did them while they were not glued together because it was such a, like, I wanted to be able to access both sides of the piece so that there wouldn't be a bow. Because sometimes even with like 2 pieces of metal like that glued together with super glue, it's still thick enough that like a needle file will not, you know, cut straight through. So... And then I just like took the burrs off by rubbing it on some sandpaper. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a shot of this sandpaper on the corner of my catch pan. Or like catch drawer. I'm not sure what that's officially called. Jewelers out there, tell me what it's officially called. If it matters, doesn't matter. Oh, so those are ball burrs. There, look at the little close-up of the ball burr, and that's what I'm going to put in my flex shaft. I'm turning on the main shooter so that I get a good shot of my 3/4 doing the ball burr. So yeah, so I'm just doing the little tiny countersink. Just enough, but not too much. And in all of them, so there's 5, but so 20, because there's 5 holes in each and there's 4. So I just went down the line. Yeah, I got like my burr life on that little burr because, I mean, it is small. Okay, putting that back. Put it away. Work, clean as you go. I must be thinking about something. I'm like, what should I do next? When I just sit and I don't have anything in my hands and my head's moving around like a bird. That means I'm thinking, I guess. I mean, I'm thinking now and I have something in my hands, so. I might be realizing all of the stuff that I need to finish before I actually rivet these, like this sandwich together. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see if I realized it yet. I mean, I'm lining this up. Okay, so then I Sharpie mark where that one rivet on the end is going to be. And I'm doing that on both sides. Okay. And I'm going to center punch that. So that's like the first hole that I'm going to drill in these. The long, I guess it's like the clamp jaw with the long tail. I mean, I guess it's also like part of the handle it turns into. Oh, man. I'm probably like really anxious because I don't want to mess up. If I misdrill this hole, it would be bad. It would be bad. But I'm going to drill it. Bringing everything over to the drill press. I kind of wish I had enough cameras that I could just have them set up at the drill press all the time. But that's ridiculous. It's just in this project, I feel like I was doing more drilling for rivets than most projects, maybe. So I'm drilling halfway through, or did I drill all the way through? Oh yeah, so I drilled halfway through. So I center punched, marked the holes and center punched on both sides. And I drilled halfway through, flipped it over, drilled the other half, and kind of met the hole in the middle. Going back over. Oh, I got my safety glasses from upstairs. That's good. My like pink camo ones. The temples are pink camo. All right, I've got a little snap disc. Oh, I think that I was afraid that this rivet sticking out, because eventually that rivet, I know I've explained, like that's going to be where one of the jaw pads are. I was afraid that was going to affect like the drilling of the rivet holes, but then also I think I was afraid it was going to affect like the riveting. It would hold it off kilter. So yeah, I'm just using a snap disc with the aggressive part towards the handle, which is a little trade secret I learned in undergrad. You don't have to snap those snap discs onto the mandrels with the aggressive part out away from your hand. You can have it towards your hand. Okay, acetone. There must have been a little bit of super glue still on something, and it's just better to acetone it off than to like try and use an abrasive to grind it off or sand it off. I'm definitely getting sandpaper though. Oh my gosh, what am I getting ready to do? Oh, I must be marking my sandpaper after I cut the pieces off. That's good. You ever well, probably not. As a metalsmith, I will cut a bunch of little tiny strips of sandpaper, and then it will not have the grit on the back of it, written on the back of it, just because of the way it's cut. And so then it's just right when you cut it right away, you gotta nip it in the bud and use a Sharpie and write it on the back, so that next time you're not how aggressive is this? I mean, I can usually tell by eye or by feel, but it's still that takes up mental bandwidth, having to make those decisions. But if I can just look at it and say, oh, this is 320, this is what I want, or oh, this is 400, this is too fine right now, or 1,000, that's exactly what I need. So I'm going to something more aggressive. So I'm trying to get all of those, so remember I said this, I realized I have to pretty much finish these jaws with the long tail completely right now. So that means finishing the face. The handle is sandwiched in, so I don't have to do it as complete because it's hidden, but it's both faces of that jaw part of the clamp need to be almost at final finish, no scratches, no flex chef marks. So I'm using pretty aggressive material because the flex shaft tool, those snap discs, they did leave kind of gouges, which is to be expected, but then you just have to deal with it. But it left substantially less than if I had used a file on them. So yeah. I must have a pretty good podcast. Oh, I moved to a big file. That's how bad it was. All right, GoPro from the corner of the flex shaft stand, continuing to be a great shot. This is a really good angle. Oh, I must be I need more sandpaper, grittier sandpaper. Look, I didn't even cut it to the size of my clipboard, so. I guess that's when you know it's bad, when you don't even take the time to cut it to the size of your clipboard. I mean, I could get a bigger clipboard, I think. Maybe I will. Maybe that's one thing. Make a note, put it on the list. Get a bigger clipboard so that I don't have to cut down the sandpaper. It's just convenient because that fits in my bench so well. Oh man, we're still going, getting more sandpaper. Maybe I'm getting finer now as we go. That's probably what's happening. Isn't that what you always want? Get finer as you go along. Oh, wow. Did you see that? I must have gotten hot. Quick change. I turned off all the cameras, changed my clothes, my shirt, to this cotton flannel. And now, oh, I think this is where we end. I ended it here because it was we're at almost a half an hour. So you'll see how we finish up the studio session day. So I love you and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Oh man. You guys sick of this song yet? Oh, you have no idea. I'm doing this right now and I don't even know if this is going to be worth it. Really reassessing my life choices at the moment. This song is dedicated to my Patreon members of the Ironclad crew.